All right. So let's get going, eh? So yeah, what I wanted to do is I wanted to walk through the new effects, the new generate custom model. Sean did a bit of a video on the other day and he got the prepare step pretty much right on the money. But his explanation of the process step, apart from exposing a bug that I didn't realize I had, he got a little bit confused about exactly how it worked. So I thought I'd go through it sort of step by step and show the various modes. So I'll cover this process really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so if you want to use this process to do a model, there's really three types of models we try to handle. So the first one is a static light. So I don't know, you've got a reindeer, it's got a bunch of static LEDs on it, and you just want to generate a model that looks like that reindeer. You don't even need to take a video. You just take a photograph of it. Ideally, it will be against a dark plain background with the lights on. And you take a photograph, and I'll show you how you process one of those. But they're the easiest ones. Then you've got things with pixels, or things with single channels, like a face or something, where a lot of LEDs light up when you turn one channel on or off. And that's where these two settings here, the nodes and the single channels, come in. If you're testing pixels, you select nodes. Testing something like a face, which has maybe 7 channels and turns on lots of different lights when each channel goes on, you use the channel setting. You then have to specify the number of nodes or the number of channels. So if you've got a face that's got 7 channels, you'll put 7 in here. If you've got a star with 100 pixels, you'll put 100 in here. And then this is the xLights channel number that the particular thing starts on. So when you go back here to your setup screen, let's imagine that it's connected to this multicast adapter here. It starts at channel 30,001. And so when you want to do the generate, you'd put in start channel 30,001 here.
Okay.
Okay. And then when you're ready to do it, you click run capture pattern. It'll tell you to get your video camera ready and start it. So once again, get whatever the object is that you're doing, get it up against a dark background. It doesn't have to be totally dark, but a dark background in a poorly lit room so that the lights are really going to stand out. Click record on your camera. Make sure you're not holding your camera. Make sure the camera is nice and steady through the whole video because it will process a lot better. And then click OK. And it will go off and it will it'll flash all the lights twice, then it will go through and light up each light, and then it'll be done. And at the end, it'll say, please stop the video. You stop the video on your camera, click OK, and you're done. At that point, you take your camera and you unload the video and you put it onto your PC, and we're ready to process it. And for that, we go over to the Process tab. Again, you get to choose what type it is, and so we'll start with the simplest one, the static lights. So you say static lights, you go in and pick. It's going to want a picture file. So I've got a picture file here of a policeman that I downloaded off some website. This one's really hard to process. If you look at it, they're not really point lights. They're actually like little lines.
Yeah.
They're probably old, not LEDs even. They're probably old incandescent lights.
Yeah.
And they're quite blurry as well. But at the same time, because this thing's, I imagine all the lights are on at the same time, if we miss a bulb here and miss a bulb there, it's probably not a big deal. So we click next, and it shows up like this. Now, what you're looking at here, all the red dots are the lights that it's found.
Okay.
Okay. The blue dots are the lights that it's found, but it's decided to throw them away because they're too close to a red dot. Okay. And the reason we do this is because if the dots end up too close together, then the model that we're going to generate is going to be really, really big. So you don't want to generate things that are too close together. But there's some things we can do. If you look over here on his hand, it's all quite poor. There's not really a lot of lights, and his belt buckle's not a lot better. the top of his hat's not a lot better either. So we can do a couple of things. We can drop the sensitivity a bit, or maybe we want to increase the sensitivity a bit. Has that cleaned it up a bit? It has. You can see it's not as white anymore. It's actually changed the image.
Yeah.
And it's provided a reasonable outline. Down here, it tells you what's going on, right? So it tells you there's only one node, i.e., and for these sort of static lights, it's always only going to be one node. And 177 bulbs. Okay, so there's 177 of these bulbs that have been located. And that excludes the blue ones, so it's not counting the blue ones. The minimum bulb separation, which to be honest we set up here, is
Yeah.
so if we increase that number, a lot more bulbs are going to turn blue.
Yeah.
Right, because it's trying to make them further apart. It then tells you how many nodes are missing. Well, in this case, there's nothing missing. They're not nodes, so there's nothing missing. Which nodes have more than one bulb? Well, not surprisingly, channel 1 has lots and lots of bulbs, so it's the one there that's listed with more than one bulb. And it tells me here that this is going to generate a model which is 36 pixels, 36 dots wide, and 66 high.
Okay.
And so when we click next, we see it. It's about 33 wide and 66 high. And there's our policeman.
Looks cool.
So if you want to save him at the end, you can save him. We'll call him policeman.xModel. We can get out of here. We can go to our layout. We can do an import of custom model. We click over here to place him there. We choose the policeman we just generated. Okay. And there he is. Kind of looks like a policeman, eh?
Yep.
All right. So that's the simplest one. There's nothing easier than doing a static model. So let's do some pixels and add some nodes. So to do some nodes, we select the nodes item. This time we need to choose a video. Now I've got a few videos here. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. This is the one I demoed the last time I did a video. Nice big circle. Now this person's actually sent me another version of this where it's very, very dark in the background. I'm not sure yet why, but it causes problems. Okay, so now we've put this in. Now, because if you remember, I said when the pattern runs, it flashes twice and then it goes through and cycles all the bulbs.
Yep.
The first thing that I need to do is find out, well, where does the video start? Because who knows, the person may have started the camera 10 seconds before it starts flashing or 5 seconds before it starts flashing. So we need to find it. So we click next and the computer goes through and plays the first 15 seconds. So it only plays the first 15 seconds. So you kind of have to have the lights turn on with the first 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Find them. And it did. So here it is. It occurs at 2.95 seconds into the video. All the lights went on for the first time and stayed on for a second. Okay. Now, if this doesn't find it, if it doesn't look right, you can use these buttons here to move the video forward and back a few frames. You find it goes back, but when it goes forward, it's bad. But you need to find the first flash, not the second flash. The looks okay text here tells me that it's looked at the video and it thinks it looks okay. Go back 10 frames, right? It now doesn't like it. Although the lights are on, it's saying, actually, that doesn't look right. It doesn't look like the next flash occurs where I think it should occur. All right. That's interesting. I think that's a bug. That shouldn't look like that. All right. Let's go next. So here it is. The video's all done. It looks good. Actually, while I think of that, sorry, pardon me. 10 frames. Picture. Not update correctly. Got to keep track of my bugs. It happens. Okay, so this all looks good. Now you've got a bunch of controls again, which controls how it interprets the video. So the blur, if you've got a video camera that maybe has got a dead pixel or something, you can sometimes get some spurious white spots, and by increasing the blur, it can get rid of those things. I would generally leave that at 1 and not play with it. We've already seen the minimum separation, which, you know, if you start to get a lot of bulbs occurring close together, minimum separation can sort of force them apart.
Yep.
The contrast, this would be the last setting I play with. If I had some problems getting it, I might play with the contrast. The one I most commonly play with is the sensitivity. The sensitivity just says, how bright does this dot need to be before I think it's probably a bulb? Okay. If your video is steady, put the video is steady light on, selection on, because what that does is it will actually subtract all this background clutter from the image, and you'll find that it does a much better job of finding the lights. But if you've got a video, and I'll show you a video in a moment, which is not really steady, turning this off can sometimes help it do a better job. The manual update thing here just sort of stops it. If it's manual update, then you have to click this update button for it to process. If it's not manual update, then every time you change a setting, it will go off and try and process the video, and that's okay. Right, it can be a little annoying, so I leave the manual update there. So let's just click it. Normally you take the defaults and click it and see what happens. And from an earlier video, people might have seen it. This is not going to be perfect. It's a lot quicker than my previous video because it's not running with the debug version. It's a lot faster. So this is pretty close, right? It found pretty much all the bulbs. There's some garbage bulbs down here. There's one here it's thrown out because it's too close. These ones here aren't really bulbs. This one is not really a bulb. And all of this stuff over here, that's just reflections off the computer. So they're not bulbs. And there's one here that's a spurious bulb as well. Now, if we knew how many bulbs there were on the computer, which there's 61. Sorry, on the model there's 61, but you can see we found 73. We found 12 extra bulbs that don't really exist. Not only that, you can see here's a list of all the nodes which seem to have more than one bulb. So they're probably a problem in this case. But we can do some things about that. Let's first of all trim off the stuff on the side. Okay, 61 dropped to 65, which is pretty good. We still have a few duplicates. Thought that would drop more than it did. But let's also pump up the sensitivity. Oh, I know. Yeah. Let's pump up the sensitivity and run it again. So you can see all the ones that are on the reflections are still being found, but they're being put out.
Ignored.
Yeah, the one up the top here has disappeared. The reflections on the carpet have now disappeared. 61 nodes, 61 bulbs. It looks pretty good. Okay, there's no nodes with more than one bulb, which is good. And the model size is going to be really small. So I think last time I demoed it in a video, I ended up with a huge number of a huge model. But this model here is tiny. And we can save it again. Let's call it ball. Yes. And come over and insert that one. It looks pretty good. Okay.
Yep.
So let me now go on and show ones which aren't so great for various reasons. Okay. So let's do another one with nodes. I'll do the vector of this one. So this one here, it's a snowflake. It happens to be a white snowflake. It's been done with a handheld camera, so the camera moves around a little bit. It's been done in a very bright room, and here it is. Lots of clutter in the background. There was a black piece at the beginning of the video. You can see the video is not really steady.
Yeah.
So this one's not going to be an easy video to process. In fact, but the good news is it still did find the beginning, so that's a good start. Click next, and let's have a look at the settings. So the first thing we need to do, this is not a steady video, so we need to say it's not a steady video. What that means is it's not going to be able to subtract all of this clutter away from the picture. So it's not going to do as good a job. We're going to see a lot more noise appear around the outside. So let's start and do an update. Okay, so the first thing it says, you found too many pixels that are looking like bulbs. This could take forever. You need to change your settings, maybe increase the sensitivity. So what it's done is it went off and started to look at some bulbs, and it reached a frame where there was just so much stuff. In fact, all of this stuff here was quite enough that it thought, oh, that's a bulb, but it's huge. And it said, no, that's silly. It doesn't make any sense. So let's pump our sensitivity up. Let's go pretty high on this because it's such a light video. Click update again. Okay, it's doing a better job. It's actually finding the lights now. It's tagging them. There's still a lot of noise. You can see the motion of the camera that a lot of stuff's not really well lined up. But to be honest, with a video of this quality, this is about as good as you're going to get. Come down here, we can see it found, out of 49 nodes, it found 75 bulbs, lots of extras. We can probably make that a little bit better, but not much. The good news is, however, the model size is still only 48 by 36. So this one's going to require a bit of manual editing by the owner to get it right. The good news is where it did find a bulb, the node number is probably the right number. So they really only need to do some corrections on it. But to be honest, I'd go back and reshoot this video. Okay. Let's do one more. I'll do the one which someone reported today was having problems. Possibly a bug in it, but it's an interesting video as well. So this person's actually done a really good job of trying to create an ideal video. Actually, let me show you this one. This one's actually interesting because this one, I don't think this one's going to be possible. Look at this video, right? So you've got a set of lights which are fundamentally going to be very hard to track because they're very obscured by the tube. On top of that, they're obviously at very crazy angles, which is going to make it hard for me to delineate them. And then they've taken the object and they've placed it in front of a very cluttered area.
Yeah.
There is almost no chance. I've never actually processed this video. I doubt it will work. The light's going to turn on. There we go. Find it. Come on, come on. No, it clearly, so it's gone 11.4 seconds into the video. That's it, but it's clearly not it.
Yeah.
So this video, you need to put a black sheet or black cloth behind it at a minimum to try and make it a better chance of finding it. let's take one more video. I think this is it. Yeah. So this video is interesting. This video at first looks black, but it's actually not black. It's just extremely dark. So this person's done a very, very good job of producing a black background. Let's play it. Incredibly bright lights as a result of that. So the contrast is absolutely enormous. If anything, my critique of this video would be it's possibly a little bit too dark. As you saw from the earlier model, it doesn't really need to be pitch black. Because it's pitch black, what happens is the camera flares a lot when the light goes on. And that causes a few issues. There we go. Did it find it? It did. Okay, so it found the beginning, which is pretty good. So 3.75 seconds in, found the start frame. That's pretty good. This one I think has dramas. So the video's steady. That's all good. We're going to click update. And is it going to work? Okay, so that said too many frames with no light spotted. So that means our sensitivity is possibly a bit high. And then we run into a problem, where it just doesn't process the video. I'm not quite sure why that happens. No, again, it hasn't found it. The reason that happens is it thinks the video is effectively over before it's even found anything. So there's definitely a bug here somewhere, which I need to work on. I actually did get it to process once, but I can't remember what that was. I did manage to actually produce a model. So, does that make sense?
Yep.
Any questions?
On that first screen, you had three options. The third one was static, and the first one was node, right?
Yes.
What is the difference then between the nodes and the static?
So the difference between the nodes and the static is the static does a picture. So we did the policeman.
Yep.
Right. So in a static, there's only one thing. There's only one channel.
Okay.
The lights are on.
Yep.
And we just want to generate a model for that. So that might be, to be honest, I've got a really old reindeer. I've had it for 20-something years. That's sitting in the front yard. And if I wanted to model that correctly, today I've just got a single pixel that I use to represent it.
Yeah.
If I wanted to represent it as a reindeer, I could take a photograph of it, come in here, and turn it into a model.
But why would you do that though?
Well, you would do that if you felt it was important that when you were doing your layout, you could see your reindeer.
Right. Okay.
Why would you do this placement? Well, only because in my display, I would want to do my sequencing and know when that turns on that's my policeman turning on.
All right. Yep.
Not because it's pixels or it's going to do anything fancy with the patterns. I just want my layout to look like my house.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's more important that you do it with pixels. Because without pixels, without a model for pixels, you don't get the effects working correctly.
Yep. Okay.
All right. Now, there's one other thing I will mention. So if you have problems with this thing, so if you run it and it doesn't work properly, sorry, I'm going to find the damn thing. Oh, there it is. So where is it? Okay, there it is. So one of the things that we've added recently is log files, and yesterday, on your suggestion, I added the package up your problem files.
Yep.
So if you have a problem, you try to generate the model, you just can't get it to work. It's not making sense, etc. If you come up and package up the problem files, give it a name.
Yep.
Nice unique name, right? And if you send that zip file to me, inside that zip file will be this log file. And using this log file, apart from all the rubbish that Dan recently hidden, tried to solve the various OpenGL problems that we're finding, has all of this data here, which I can use to understand what was going on when it processed the video. So for instance, here it was processing the video, and these numbers somewhere here, right, jump from being around the 0.02 mark to up around the 0.4 mark. They were when the lights turned on. So I can tell by looking at this data that the right place in frames for this video to consider to be starting is 3750. So I can debug any problems that we might be having with this, and hopefully I can find fixes and get those fixes out in subsequent releases to handle any situations where the video auto generation is not working. Hopefully it'll get better and better over time.
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, so if anyone has any problems, if it doesn't work for them, the model they generate doesn't come up really good, go to package problem files, turn it into a zip file and send it to me, and I'll take a look at it. Anything else?
No, looks great. Yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's just like I say, it's not kind of hard to do. I'm actually thinking of changing it a little or adding a third option here, where you'll actually be able to say, actually what I want to do is take a picture of my model. So imagine, I'll do this one. So take a picture of the model, and then I actually would prefer to manually go around and say, that's bulb 1, bulb 2, bulb 3, bulb 4, bulb 5, etc. And just click, and each time you click, it would place a node on it.
Yeah.
Thinking, so if people try this and it just doesn't work for them, and they're thinking, okay, I'm back to trying to do an image in Excel, and that's really fiddly.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking I could actually make that easier to do. Obviously, I'd need to make the image a lot bigger, but let people click around and actually specify where all the bulbs are. You would need to know, however, the layout of the bulbs, because obviously I wouldn't be able to give you any information on that.
Yeah.
The video works out which bulbs which, just because of the order that they light up in. So I'm working on it. It's not. I haven't got very far with it. It's not a huge rush for me to get done, but it's just one of those things I'm working on in the background.
Yeah. So when that thing is analyzing the video and saying, okay, these are where the bulbs are.
Yep.
How does it know which the sequence? Like I saw your thing go for that it went in and then out and in and out. How does it know to do that?
How does it know what order the bulbs are in? It knows that because when you ran the prepare script, I lit the channels up in order.
Okay.
So when I'm playing back the video, that's why it's important that you prepare the video using this panel.
Yeah.
And then you process it here, because in here I make the assumption that everything's going to light up exactly as I sent the data out. So the time gap between the time when each pixel is on and the next pixel is on is all known to me, because I know I sent the data to them and I turned them on at that time. So I know that when you're processing a video, where'd it go? So when it processed this video, we'll do the processing. Each time a bulb comes on, in practice, that bulb lights up for half a second and it goes off for a fifth of a second.
Okay.
So when I'm processing the video, when I find a bulb, I then jump ahead 0.7 of a second and look at that frame and say, well, in that frame, the next bulb should be on. And if the bulb's not on, I will look around a little bit to see whether it's there or not. And if it's not there, I'll just say, well, that bulb's missing, and I move on.
Okay.
So, yeah. That's how it works. All right. Well,
Yep.
let's leave it at that. I'll stop.